Imagine crashing into a world where every square foot is claimed, where the scent of salty air mixes with the heavy odor of cramped living. Welcome to Santa Cruz del Islote, the most populated island on Earth, a speck of land smaller than a soccer field, yet crammed with hundreds of souls. Behind the postcard-perfect Caribbean waters lies a shocking reality. Narrow alleys barely wide enough for a child to pass makeshift homes, stacked side by side, the constant murmur of life with nowhere to escape. How do people survive in such suffocating density? Why don't they leave? And what hidden stories of poverty, resilience, and secrets are waiting to be exposed? Stay with us as we dive deep into this unseen world. Number 1. The myth and origin of Santa Cruz del Islote. 2 centuries ago, in the humid embrace of the Caribbean Sea, a group of fishermen stumbled upon a tiny patch of land unlike any they had ever seen. It wasn't the lush greenery or the shape of the island that caught their attention. It was something far stranger. Here, amid the thick, sticky heat where mosquitoes thrived by the millions, this island had none. Not a single buzzing insect to spoil the salty breeze. To men who spent their lives battling nature's harshest moods, it felt like a miracle, like a slice of paradise handed down from the gods themselves. At first, they only visited Santa Cruz del Islote during their fishing trips, setting up temporary camps. But slowly, almost inevitably, what began as a refuge grew roots. Fishermen returned, bringing their families, building shacks out of driftwood, coral, and any materials they could find. They hammered dreams into planks of wood, stitched survival into nets, and built something that defied logic. A community on a floating stone. Expanding the island became a task of both ingenuity and desperation. With every new birth, every new family member, they needed more space. But with no land to spare, they did what humans have always done when pushed against the wall. They adapted. Men, women, and even children carried heavy stones, chunks of coral and timber, tossing them into the sea around the island's edge. Layer by stubborn layer, the fishermen turned water into land, crafting new foundations for homes that seemed almost to float on the turquoise waves. Today, Santa Cruz del Islote covers barely over the size of a soccer field, roughly 11,000 square feet, yet houses more than 800 residents. According to a 2025 survey by the Colombian Department of National Statistics, the island's population density is approximately 95,000 people per square mile. To put that in perspective, Manhattan's density, one of the most crowded places in the United States, is barely 70,000 people per square mile. Santa Cruz del Islote laughs in the face of that comparison. But numbers alone can't capture the spirit that pulses through the island like a beating heart. Over generations, what began as a convenient fishing stop evolved into a vibrant, if chaotic, microcosm of humanity. Families built not just homes, but a whole social fabric, celebrating births with music that bounced from rooftop to rooftop, mourning losses together under the few scattered stars visible through the maze of corrugated metal and drying laundry. Yet beneath the resilience and the raw beauty of this human hive, there lies a haunting question. How long can an island born from legend and raised by pure will survive the rising tides of change? As we journey deeper into the story of Santa Cruz del Islote, you'll discover not just how this tiny miracle came to be, but how its people continue to fight for every inch, every breath, every dream, against a backdrop where the sea is both a cradle and a looming threat. Stay with us. The secrets of the most populated island in the world are just beginning to unfold. Number 2. Geography and how to reach the island. Tucked away like a forgotten gem in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, Santa Cruz del Islote floats within the San Bernardo archipelago, a collection of islands so beautiful they look like they were painted by the gods themselves. This chain of islands is part of the Corrales del Rosario National Natural Park, one of the richest marine ecosystems in Colombia, boasting over 1,300 species of marine flora and fauna, according to the World Wildlife Fund's 2025 report. But reaching this overcrowded sliver of humanity is not as simple as booking a flight or driving down a scenic highway. Santa Cruz del Islote has no airport, no roads, and not even a dock built for modern ships. The only way to set foot on this human anthill is by boat. Most journeys begin from Cartagena, a vibrant colonial city about 50 kilometers away, or from nearby islands like Mucura and Tintipan. Either way, brace yourself, the boat ride can stretch up to 2 hours depending on the weather and the tides. Yet this journey is no ordinary commute. Picture this. You are gliding over a sea so brilliantly turquoise, it seems almost fake past tiny islets, sprinkled across the horizon like breadcrumbs leading you toward a secret. The sun dances on the waves, and the breeze smells of salt freedom and distant adventures. For a moment you might believe you are heading straight into a paradise postcard, but then, like a jarring shift in a dream, Santa Cruz del Islote appears and reality hits hard. From a distance, the island looks like a tightly packed jigsaw puzzle, every inch crammed with buildings stacked precariously, like blocks in a never-ending game of Tetris. There is no green space, no open plaza, not even a proper street where two people can comfortably pass each other. It feels almost impossible that life could exist here, and yet it not only exists, but thrives. The contrast is almost violent. On one side, you have the breathtaking splendor of nature, clear waters teeming with vibrant fish, coral reefs stretching like underwater gardens, and sunsets so magnificent they could break your heart. On the other side, you have the claustrophobic chaos of Santa Cruz del Islote, where every breath, every footstep, every whisper must fight for space. According to a 2025 environmental impact study by the Colombian Ministry of Tourism, the area surrounding the San Bernardo Islands sees approximately 50,000 visitors annually. Yet very few of them ever step onto Santa Cruz del Islote. Those who do are often shocked. Imagine being surrounded by endless ocean, yet feeling like you have less personal space than a crowded subway car in New York City during rush hour. And it is not just the physical space that is tight. Resources like clean water, electricity, and fresh food are limited and precious. Every delivery from the mainland becomes a lifeline, a reminder that isolation, though beautiful from a distance, demands a heavy price up close. Number 3. Daily life in extreme overcrowding. Stepping onto Santa Cruz del Islote feels like diving straight into another world, a world where space itself is a rare and precious treasure. Here, homes are not simply built side by side, they are practically stitched together, sharing walls so thin you can hear every heartbeat, every whispered dream of your neighbor. There are no wide streets to stroll down, no parks where children can run free, and certainly no cemetery to honor the dead. Every square inch of land screams with life packed tighter than a crowded elevator. The island has over 90 homes squeezed onto an area barely the size of 2 basketball courts. Imagine a maze of tiny, colorful houses piled atop one another, each one fighting for a glimpse of the sun or a breath of fresh air. It is a jigsaw puzzle of survival where even a hallway wide enough to stretch your arms is considered a luxury. And it is not just about cramped living spaces. Basic amenities are a daily struggle. Electricity, for example, is a game of chance. The island depends almost entirely on solar panels for power. On sunny days, lights flicker brightly, fans hum and radios crackle with music. But when heavy clouds roll in, which happens often during the Caribbean's unpredictable rainy seasons, residents switch to flashlights, candles, and the comforting glow of kerosene lamps. According to a local sustainability initiative in 2025, solar panels provide electricity for only about 6 to 8 hours on average per day. Water is another constant challenge. With no natural freshwater sources, the community survives by collecting rainwater in large cisterns or depending on expensive deliveries from the mainland. Every raindrop that falls is treated like a blessing. If you have ever taken a long, hot shower without thinking twice, imagine now living where every bucket of water is a decision between cooking, cleaning, or drinking. And then there is the waste. With no sewage system or formal trash collection, garbage and wastewater often end up directly in the surrounding ocean. The turquoise waters, so mesmerizing from a distance, hide a heartbreaking truth beneath their shimmering surface pollution, slowly eating away at the island's fragile beauty. Inside the homes, life adapts in incredible ways. Families of up to 10 people often share a single room. Picture a living space, smaller than your average suburban living room, divided only by thin curtains or wooden boards. A kitchen might be nothing more than a corner with a gas stove balanced precariously against a wall. A wardrobe could be a few hooks nailed into a cracked plaster partition. Every object, every inch is pressed into service like actors in a play with no stage to spare. Yet in this intense confinement, something remarkable has bloomed: human ingenuity. Residents have turned necessity into an art form. Old fishing nets become hammocks. Broken furniture is repurposed into shelves or cradles. Rain-soaked tarps morph into makeshift awnings to catch precious droplets. Where many would see only limitation, the people of Santa Cruz del Islote see opportunity. A daily lesson in creativity, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of making do with what you have. And somehow, despite the hardships, laughter still echoes through the narrow passageways, and music still floats over the rooftops. It is a reminder that while space might be scarce, the will to live, love, and endure knows no bounds. Number 4. Community, poverty, and social order. Life on Santa Cruz del Islote is a masterclass in human resilience, and nowhere is that more clear than in the spirit of its people. Despite living in one of the most overcrowded places on Earth, this island is buzzing with youth and energy. Here it is not unusual for a single couple to have 4 or even 5 children, filling the already tight homes with the sound of laughter cries and dreams waiting to bloom. And yet, despite the chaos, there is order. Santa Cruz del Islote has no police station, no armed forces patrolling its narrow alleys. Instead, peace is kept the old-fashioned way through trust, respect, and the wisdom of the elders. Whenever disputes arise, it is the village's oldest and most respected citizens who step in, offering counsel, mediating disagreements, and reminding everyone that survival here depends on unity, not division. It is a system built on invisible bonds, stronger than any chain. The island is far from having all the conveniences of the modern world, but remarkably, it has carved out the basics of a functioning society. There is a small school where children learn to read, write, and dream beyond the horizon. A humble church stands proudly among the stacked homes, offering a place for prayer, hope, and community gatherings. A modest health clinic run by visiting nurses and occasional volunteer doctors provides basic medical care, a lifeline in a place where the nearest hospital requires a 2-hour boat ride. Even a tiny hotel welcomes curious visitors, offering a glimpse into a world few outsiders ever see. And yes, even a brothel exists, tucked discreetly among the winding pathways, a reminder that where people gather, all facets of life, light and shadow alike, inevitably follow. But death, strangely enough, is something that must be outsourced. Santa Cruz del Islote has no space for a cemetery. When a resident passes away, families must ferry their loved ones to nearby islands like Mucura or Tintipan to find a final resting place. It is a bittersweet journey, one last ride across the waters that have both nurtured and confined them. Economically, the island struggles under the heavy weight of poverty. The average monthly income, according to a 2025 report by the United Nations Development Program, is estimated to be less than $200 American per family, fishing once the lifeblood of the community has declined due to overfishing and environmental degradation. Many families now rely on small-scale tourism handcraft sales or government subsidies that barely stretch from one month to the next. Houses often crumble under the weight of salt, wind, and time. Clean water is a luxury. Electricity flickers with the moods of the sun. And yet, if you walk down the narrow alleys, you will find faces lit with smiles, guitars strumming lively tunes, and neighbors sharing meals of fried fish and coconut rice under makeshift awnings. Here, wealth is measured not by the size of your home or the brand of your clothes, but by the strength of your community. the warmth of your family, and the richness of your stories. It is a place where life clings fiercely to every inch of land, every heartbeat, every shared song. As we move forward, remember, this Santa Cruz del Islote may be poor in material wealth, but it is rich, overwhelmingly rich in the currency of human connection. Number 5. Tourism, pollution, and environmental stress. For Santa Cruz del Islote, tourism is both a blessing and a ticking time bomb. Every single day, nearly 300 visitors armed with snorkeling gear, selfie sticks, and dreams of Caribbean paradise arrive to explore this tiny island. They come to swim with colorful fish, to catch a glimpse of harmless nurse sharks, and to marvel at a community that seems to defy the laws of space and logic. Each visitor pays a modest entry fee, and that money helps fuel the island's fragile economy. In fact, according to a tourism development report released in early 2025, tourism now accounts for almost 60% of Santa Cruz del Islote's total income. But as with all things that glitter, there is a shadow. The island, already bursting at the seams, simply cannot absorb the tidal wave of daily tourists without consequences. With every extra footstep, every camera click, and every coconut cocktail sold, the strain on the island's limited resources deepens. Narrow walkways, barely wide enough for two people to brush past, turn into congested human traffic jams. Boats clog the tiny harbor, spewing fuel into waters that once gleamed crystal clear, and the cheerful hum of daily life is often drowned out by the constant buzz of engines and the chatter of strangers. Then there is the trash. Plastic bottles, snack wrappers, and discarded flip-flops pile up faster than the community can clean. With no formal waste management system in place, garbage often finds its way into the ocean. What was once a vibrant, thriving marine habitat now shows worrying signs of decay. Recent data from a 2025 study by the Coral Restoration Foundation reveals that coral cover around the San Bernardino archipelago has declined by nearly 25% over the last decade, much of it linked to human activity. And it is not just the coral that suffers. Fish populations, once abundant enough to support the entire community, are dwindling. Local fishermen report catching 40% fewer fish today than they did just 10 years ago, according to a 2025 The very lifeblood of Santa Cruz del Islote. The sea is slowly slipping through their fingers. In response, new conservation efforts have sprung up. In 2024, a collaborative project between marine biologists, local residents, and non-governmental organizations began working to rebuild the island's fragile coral reefs. Using innovative coral gardening techniques, small coral fragments are nurtured in underwater nurseries before being transplanted back onto damaged reefs. Simultaneously, educational workshops teach islanders, especially the younger generation, about sustainable fishing, waste reduction, and how to be stewards of the ocean that has cradled them for generations. But environmental projects alone cannot solve the deeper crisis looming over the island's space. Or more accurately, the complete lack of it remains a suffocating reality. There is simply no more room to build new homes, no empty patches to expand gardens or create parks. As the population continues to grow, an increase of nearly 3% each year, based on the 2025 census projections, the pressure on every drop of water, every kilowatt of electricity, and every pound of food intensifies. Santa Cruz del Islote is standing on a knife's edge, balancing between survival and collapse, between the beauty that draws the world's gaze and the hard truth of an ecosystem gasping for air. The islander's spirit remains unbroken, but make no mistake, unless urgent action is taken. This tiny miracle might one day become a cautionary tale about paradise lost, because sometimes even the brightest jewels of the ocean can be worn away, not by the waves, but by the weight of the world's hunger to see them. Number 6. The island's fragile future and enduring spirit. Despite living in some of the most cramped and impoverished conditions imaginable, the people of Santa Cruz del Islote have no plans to leave. To outsiders, it might seem crazy why cling to a place where space is a luxury and every resource is stretched to the breaking point. But for the islanders, the answer is simple. This is home, Not just a dot on a map, but a living, breathing community stitched together by blood, history, and heart. Tradition runs like a lifeline through daily life here. Religious festivals light up the island with song and prayer, filling the narrow passageways with the sounds of faith and hope. Latin music drifts from open windows, blending cumbia rhythms with the laughter of children chasing soccer balls along uneven paths. It is not polished, it is not perfect, but it is alive in the way that only places built on shared struggle and joy can be. And then there is the food, the soul of the island. Meals are simple but rich with flavor, crafted from the gifts of the sea that surrounds them. Fresh fish crab and spiny lobster, known locally as langosta, are cooked slowly in pots of creamy coconut rice, often accompanied by golden, crispy fried plantains. It is comfort food born from necessity, yet it tastes like celebration. According to a 2025 survey by the Caribbean Culinary Heritage Association, traditional dishes from Santa Cruz del Islote are now being recognized as part of Colombia's intangible cultural heritage, a small but meaningful acknowledgement of a proud and enduring culture. Yet beneath the music, the feasts, and the family gatherings, a quiet fear lingers. The question no one wants to ask out loud: how much longer can this last? Rising sea levels driven by climate change threaten to swallow the very ground beneath their feet. According to a 2025 report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, sea levels in the Caribbean region are projected to rise by as much as 30 centimeters over the next 30 years. For an island barely a meter above sea level, that is a ticking clock with no easy answers. Add to that the pressures of overpopulation, dwindling resources, and environmental degradation, and the future looks even more uncertain. There are whispers among the younger generation, dreams of moving to Cartagena, or even further afield, searching for new opportunities that simply cannot exist on a speck of land that is already bursting at the seams. Still, for now, the majority stay. They stay because Santa Cruz del Islote is more than just a place to live. It is a tapestry of memories, traditions, and resilience woven across generations. Leaving would mean tearing apart not just homes, but identities. It would mean letting go of the festivals, the shared meals, the songs carried on the salty breeze. So the island endures, clinging fiercely to its existence with the same stubborn spirit that built it from a handful of rocks and coral 2 centuries ago. As we close this chapter, one question remains floating over the waves. Will Santa Cruz del Islote survive the storms of change ahead, or will its people one day be forced to trade history for hope elsewhere? Whatever the answer, one truth is, clear: resilience is not just a word here. It is the air they breathe, the songs they sing, and the ground they refuse to give up, even as the tides keep rising. Santa Cruz del Islote is more than just the most crowded island on Earth. It is a living testament to the power of community resilience and hope. In every cramped alleyway, every shared meal, and every burst of laughter carried by the sea breeze, you can feel a spirit that refuses to be broken. Yes, the challenges are real: rising seas, shrinking resources, and an uncertain future loom large. But so too is the determination of the people who call this tiny island home, who hold tight to their traditions and to each other, against all odds. If this story moved you, inspired you, or simply made you see the world a little differently, consider giving this video a like, subscribing to NVL Travel Documentary, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, and we would love to hear how this remarkable island touched your heart. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing in the extraordinary stories hidden in every corner of our world.